All right, fam, welcome in to another video, another craziness video that we're going to put together. And those of you who have come to my channel and seen a couple of the different videos that we've done, don't forget to throw a like and subscribe. I'm doing this to have a little bit of fun, give you guys some information, enjoy playing this game, and getting down to, just the nitty gritty of some things. And today, we're going to talk cavalry. We're going to talk cavalry, not like, oh, hey, these guys do this and this skill is this. We're going to get into the nitty gritty of how to run your cavalry, how I run my cavalry, how it works, what's the benefit, and all that. And so, again, you like the videos, like and subscribe. You want to leave a comment. I'm generally pretty interactive when it comes to the comments and everything, but let's get right into it. When we get into cavalry, guys, the benefit for cavalry, okay? Any cavalry you run has the one advantage, like it's almost impossible to get from the other troop types, and that's speed. And it's all about speed, okay? And so my three criteria for field fighting, and this is field fighting specifically. My three criteria is number one, damage, number two, march speed, and number three, tankiness, okay? And cavalry is kind of S minus tier in damage, but it's different. And this is what people have to understand, how they've been releasing cavalry over the last, really couple of generations. And so it has been a little bit different because honestly, the last AoE cavalry commander we got was Joan, and she's great. Don't get me wrong, but it's mainly been single target stuff. And so when we go into this stuff, we see it. You're going to get a ton of damage. And Huo, for anybody running 2 cav marches, and that's what the game has given us. It's given us like an easy way to run 2 cav marches. You can do it economically, and you can do it as high spending as you want to do it. Okay? But this dude here is a lot of people, I'm not going to say a lot. There were some people that were skeptical of this commander when he first came out. And I'm just telling you, this guy is like, bring him A1 into your murder ball, 100%. His rage requirements get reduced. And when his rage requirements are reduced, he's honestly one of the best commanders to use because he fires off so fast. Well, you're hitting fast because you're cavalry, and you're firing off so fast. 150 less rage is what it takes for him to fire off a skill, starting at 1,000, right? And you get that for a good duration, okay? And then he's got some other mechanics in there that kind of change some things up. But when you're first getting into the fight, he fires off so fast. This mitigates the damage from cheeseburger and people popping out of cities. You just go put Huo out there, and he's going to fire off and do massive damage before any Luce or any cheeseburger march even fires off. And so with that being said, he is phenomenal to bring. You want to ramp up the damage as much as you can from as many artifacts as you can, and he's a guy you can use in multiple cases. And really with the 4 commanders, and really it's 5. There's 5 main commanders. There's Huo, there's Nevsky. Okay, I'm gonna find her. There's Joan, and then the 4th and the 5th are kind of interchangeable, if you will. Okay, because if you have William, he's still great. And if you don't want to invest in belly, William is great. If you're a player that only runs like 3 marches or 4 marches, or really even 5, and you run 2 cavalry, and you run a Nevsky Joan and a Huo William, great. Don't change anything. You're fine. Okay? And William doesn't quite do as much damage on the damage factor, plus he's got that long, rectangle AoE, but in a big murder ball fight, you're going to hit 3 targets. Well, he does bring utility, okay? And the utility he brings, and just to kind of refresher here on William, is that if the bloodline hits 1 target, this commander troops gains 20% defense for 3 seconds. Great. It's a defense buff. That's great. If the skill hits 2 or more, up to 5 nearby allied and friendly troops, including this commander, gain an extra 50 rage per second and that 20% defense buff. Okay, so that's really, really good. It used to be like meta, but that is still to this day really, really good. And so you have 4 good commanders you can run for 2 marches. It's easy. I mean, anybody that asks me like, hey, I want to add a march, I've only got 1 cav, well, just add a 2nd cav. That's easy. Because the benefit from those 4 commanders are extremely, extremely good. Sometimes people hide William behind Joan because he's not very tanky. He does give that buff, but you want to keep him in the fight longer, so you can hide him behind Joan, and Joan provides that support skill or that support tree that really allows her to mitigate skill damage you're taking and all that stuff. But the one I use, I benched William when this guy came out. And the reason why, a lot of people had said, hey, he's whale focused. Like if you're a whale, yeah, go get Belly. Well, it's more than that. Because there's 2 things Belly does that I absolutely cannot live without on the field. 2 things. And those 2 things, let's see, right here. Of course, he's going to introduce some skill damage, but here's my main thing. You got 20% march speed, which is fine for calves, okay? But when you leave combat and you're trying to get out of trouble, you ramp up 60% march speed for 5 seconds, okay? So anytime you're trying to get out of trouble, the minute this guy disengages from the combat, you're gone. They can't stay in combat with you. You're out of there. And that is such a benefit when you're field fighting, because your other marches are going to get left behind, and he's going to go ahead and get out of trouble while they maybe focus down your other marches, archers. And so with that being said, I love that skill. The other thing is this guy right here. This is what makes him. This is everything that does it for you in the field. And really, this isn't a whale's game. This isn't like, oh, you got to have 7 marches and they got to be all meta to make this skill work. No. If you're running at least 4 marches and you're running 2 cavalry out of those 4 marches, this is great. 9% more damage. And what people have to understand about this particular skill is that it's not exclusive to your marches. So if you're in a mortar ball fight and you're hitting a target, if anybody else is hitting that target, they're getting this same debuff on the target. So you could have a 20x surround on a target, and all 20 marches are going to be doing 12% more damage. Okay? What's the number 1 rule in fielding? Number 1 attribute you want? Damage. As much damage as you can get. Number 2, march speed. Number 3, tankiness. I'm going to say that over and over and over. But that is why that works. And a lot of people say, well, I don't know. I don't trust it that much. I don't know if it will. You go look in the reports. This dude makes everybody hit harder and faster. And when you're in a murder ball fight, listen, buffing is great. William is fine in a murder ball fight. And having a little bit more tankiness and regenerating some rage when it comes to his skill, that's all just great, okay? But when it comes to, because this will work just fine, but when it comes to hard hitting, fast hitting, you go put Belly behind Huo, or you go put him behind Joan, or any one of your cap commanders. And the beauty with this skill, it's very unique in this game. This skill is not procced, it is perpetual. The second you hit the target, the second you hit it and engage with it, boom, everybody does 12% more damage if you got 5 troops hitting it. Well, when you guys play murder ball fights, you don't split them up. You don't have 2 targets hitting one thing and 3 targets hitting another. Yeah, you're always hitting the same thing, always. And one of the reasons why I like to put this guy behind Joan, same reason with William. Okay, when you're able to put him behind Joan and you're able to use the support tree, and this is the main one here, emergency protection is great. When you're able to mitigate the skill damage you're taking, it's tankier. Joan is just tankier in general. Plus, if a Huo and a Joan are sitting on the field, okay, people are going to target Huo first. First of all, they're going to target archers, okay, especially if they're playing dot mode. But from there, they're always going to target Huo before Joan. So you slap this guy behind Joan, it stays on the field longer. You want him staying on the field as long as possible. Another thing that's great about this buff, it's like any other buff, okay? You can be almost no health. And if you're not targeted and you're hitting the target that you got, this buff is still going to be in effect for everything else and everybody else. That's why it's so valuable. And I get some of the best trades with Belly putting him behind Huo or putting him behind Joan. I get some of the best trades. And he's single target. He ramps up a lot of damage. And part of the reason why he's good is he has some rage mitigation. We love this. Now William Wallace has rage mitigation. Now Belly has rage mitigation. Like, this is a very, very powerful tool, especially when you're surrounding a target and it puts the deception effect on it. For 5 seconds, the skill requirement of the target you're trying to hit is 200. Okay, so it adds 200 to the rage requirement. Like right here, you got 100 rage requirement, or 1,000. I'm sorry. That all of a sudden turns to 1,200. Well, you're gonna max out the rage when you're swarming somebody, anyways. Like their rage bar, they're gonna max out at 220 rage points. That's the max you can get in one turn. They're gonna max that out. But if you go increase the limit they got to get to, that 1 second is make or break sometimes to keep them from firing off their active skill while you're blasting on them. Because they're not going to last very long. You put all 5 marches, 6 marches, 7 marches on a target, it's going to die pretty quick. Okay, and so this all feeds into that concept of max damage as fast as possible, and then we're going to put some rage mitigation on you, because everybody has to understand this. If you're fighting, you can have a horn, you can have the war drums, you can have skills from your commander, you can have skills from the talent tree, you can generate rage all you want, and you can max it out at 220 rage every cycle. The rage mitigation, when it comes from skills from other commanders, that comes at the end of the equation. So you gain all your rage in one turn, and in that same turn, at the very end, you can be maxed out at 220. This 50 rage per second is going to drop it. I know it doesn't sound like much, but all of a sudden that drops it to 170. Okay, so anytime you're able to mitigate that rage, it's going to happen on the tail end of it, and all of a sudden you're swarming a particular player, and they're not just maxing out rage every turn because you're hammering this after you do your skill. And by the way, he's going to do his skill fast if you put it behind Huo. So the other thing with Cavalry, and this is what people I think have to understand and need to continue to understand, is that when you have Cavalry, you're going to do a lot of single target damage. Now, we like this, and we see this much more apparent because we watch a particular march we're hitting just completely melt. Okay, so it concentrates the power in the damage it does on the target. It's not spreading it out, because one of the things that we love about some of the AoE is that you're going to hit all kinds of targets, right? But this thing right here, just about everybody has this right here. Every additional target reduces the damage to each target by 15%. When LC hits 5 targets, you're mitigating that damage down to like 55-40% on each target. Well, that's not near as heavy when you're trying to get a particular march off the field and get him killed. So there are some advantages to the single target stuff, and 2700 is just massive. So if you do put the best single target dueling commander or best single target max damage march you can get out there is Huo with this cat right here. Nevsky still does it, even today. Okay, Nevsky's going to lay down huge damage. If you're surrounding a target, which you are, you're getting benefits from Belly. If you got Belly behind your Joan, and you're going to get the benefit here, you're going to do some defense mitigation, the debuff from Nevsky. But more importantly, this is the main thing. You're automatically going to do 25% more skill damage. And whenever you use an active skill, it has a 35% bonus to skill damage for 4 seconds. Okay, let me let you in on a little secret. If you have him behind Huo, you're gonna fire off Huo. You're gonna have another turn. Then you're gonna fire off Nevsky. Okay. Then that 4 seconds starts the turn after, and I'm telling you, you can bridge to Huo really easily, especially with one of these guys. Okay. When I say bridge, that means that you can take advantage of that additional 35% skill damage when Huo fires off again. And I'm just telling you, you got 25, 35, you add 60% skill damage to this dude. And it's just like, it literally, the marches implode. They go from a white bar to red instantly. Okay. Because you got other marches hitting it too, but that is massive. So you do massive damage as a cavalry. Okay. I wish it was more AoE, but it's not. And you got to use them for what you use them for. So the AoE cavalry you're going to run are Joan and William if you run William. Okay. And it's not that much from William because you're only going 1500, And then you're also spreading that out and decreasing that by 15%. So if you do hit 3 targets, you're hitting 70% of 1,500 for each target. Okay, and so from that standpoint, it still does decent damage. I mean, it's probably A plus damage. It's not that much, but the benefit is the buffs, right? We talked about that. You want to get the buffs, and that's what you want to do. But you just want to go pure damage. You load up Huo with Nevsky, and then you load up Joan with Belly, and you're right where you want to be as far as the damage goes. And so the one thing cool about Joan, she also does a little bit of that rage enhancement, right? Like you've got it from William, and so with Joan, she's got high damage, y'all. And the thing is, this is what people don't understand about Joan. When you take her second proccing of her active skill into account, it's a probability of 100%. You're going to fire this thing off twice. We all know that. We've seen it. We understand how that works. That happens every other cycle. Okay, so if you're hitting 3 targets at 2,000 for each one, that's the same kind of damage Guan does, same as CPO. It's really, really good damage. But then you're going to go hit it again. Okay, you're going to proc it again. Now, all of a sudden, she becomes like one of the highest damage total marches in the game. Now, it's mitigated a little bit because it's spread out through AoE. You're not hitting just the target, but as far as damage in general, I mean, she's up there with Zhuge and Herman on how much damage she does. And depending on how you calculate it, she does more than they do it. And so with that being said, she's also got that rage enhancement because she hits for the next 3 seconds, your 3 allied troops are going to deal 5% more damage. Great. Love more damage and gain an extra 20 rage per second. Okay. So you're basically just feeding 3 marches 20 rage per second for 3 seconds. That's like giving 60 rage to each march during a skill cycle, right? Which is great. And so those 4 commanders, I mean, it's just set it and forget it. It's like, with infantry, I think with Ragnar now, we can argue that, hey, you got 2 bona fide great meta infantry marches. Now we'll see how Ragnar plays out. But with infantry right now, without Ragnar, it's William Wallace and Luce, and then it's Guan Scipio, right? You got a smite one and you got a skill damage one. With archers, there's all kinds of debate with Shazar now in the game. With archers, people are trying to figure this out with archers, and I think from that standpoint, Zhuge Herman is the #1 march, and probably one of the #1 marches in the game, right? Zhuge and Herman. But then from there, what do? You go Ash and Nebu? Nobody really runs Boudica anymore. Because you have smite commanders, this skill damage buff does not really help near as much as it used to. Now it still does, don't get me wrong. This 35% damage, skill damage increase taken on the target is great, but she's too slow, single target, not very much fun. You want AoE with archers. So you have Ash, which is good. You can run them with Nebu. People like that for the speed and a little bit of tankiness. Artemisia is still in the field every now and then. You can run her with her tankiness, but now Shazar is out, and she's got either high damage or she's got healing. And so everybody's trying to argue, okay, who do you run? Who do you put with the archers? So that's up to debate. So my whole point is that Cavs, it is bona fide. You know who you're running. You're either running, I don't care how you match them up, but you're running Huo, Joan, Nevsky, and either Belly or William, those 4. Okay, now I run 3 cav marches, and this is where it gets a little crazy. If you are a 3 cav march guy, okay, you don't really want to run Attila Takeda in the field. All right, it's going to do fine, and it's always going to trade positive, but to do max damage, that is my creed when it comes to field fighting. To do max damage, you have to lay down skill damage. You have to. Attila just is not going to do enough damage. He's going to kick out damage and reactive damage on the counterattack if it gets focused, which is fine. The only time I advise people to run Attila Takeda is if you're running 2 smite marches with 4 smite commanders and you're running the burn effect. That's the only time I say, hey, you can run Attila Takeda and this burn effect will work. You can see that in the last video that I did where I explained that I ran Takeda and it actually works. It's an enhancer for your smite marches, but most people aren't doing that. So if you're running 3 cav marches, you can basically say, okay, that's assuming I have Belly. It's assuming I have Belly and William. And then now you got to bring XY into the mix, okay? And I listen, I've tried it. I know. I've tried to run Justinian primary. I've tried to run Eleanor, anything I can find. I've even thrown Nina in there, you know, with a double relic Nina. Okay, and nothing really works. And XY really doesn't work either. But here's what people have a hard time with. They'll run Nevsky Joan, they'll run Huo with Belly, and then they'll run XY with William. Or they'll run Huo with William and then put Belly behind XY. This is really difficult to do because you have to run XY primary. He's got the 900 rage cap, okay? And the hard part with XY is that he has no defensive capabilities. He's glass cannon. Now, he fires off fast, he does decent damage, he's got a good debuff, and he's got damage bonuses, he does extra direct damage, and then he brings that rage reduction down 50, so he's just like Huo. He's running the rage requirement to 850, okay? The only way he works in the field to where you're just not getting completely annihilated if they just breathe on you, because that's what they're going to do. They see XY. I know when I see XY, I'm hammering that thing. You put Nevsky behind him. And the main reason why is that you have good tankiness from XY, right? 20% health. That's great. And you gain another 20% defense. Okay. He gives you the surrounding effects, and that's always good. He gives you the skill damage, which is always good. But if you're ever hit with a basic attack, the cavalry units in their troops will have a 10% chance to gain 30% health for 3 seconds. Okay, this is kind of, it's not really an anti-swarm type of situation. It's more about if you're going to get focused, you're going to be able to get 30% health. Okay, and if you get focused by 3, 4, 5 marches, this 10% chance will trigger off very fast, and you'll grab some more health. So putting essentially 50% health on 50% health on the march in those 3 seconds will give you a little bit of tankiness, not to fight back, but to get out of trouble. So the best way I have seen it is if you're going to run XY, and you're going to just take the plunge and say, I'm doing 3 cavalry. I'm sick of, the other troop types. I want speed. I'm running cavalry. This is the best way to do it with Nevsky behind XY, because Nevsky will provide a little bit of tankiness and a little bit of reactive tankiness, and that is purely to get out of trouble. Okay, because all these 3 cav marches are fast and they'll get you out of trouble. So if you're going to run 3 and you put Nevsky behind XY, then what I encourage you to do is take Huo, put William behind Huo, and then you take Joan and put Belly behind Joan. Joan, Belly will be the last one of your cavalry to be hit. Huo will be the second one to be hit, so it allows William to stay in place longer. Or from there, XY and Nevsky, that'll be the first one hit. If anybody can see that march, that's what they're hitting. Okay, and honestly, between Huo and William and Joan and Belly, you can switch those 2 up if you want. You can put Belly behind Huo, which is fine, and you can put William behind Joan. A lot of people like William behind Joan. So honestly, it's an old commander that really needs a buff. I think he's due for a museum buff soon, but just hold on tight. Just wait, because you're sitting here thinking to yourself, hey, I really want to invest in the gear and armaments for a 3rd cavalry march, but I don't want to use XY. Well, cavalry's coming up with the 10th generation of new commander releases. Nobody knows if we're going to get a leadership set first, a leadership set of commanders first, and then cavalry, or if we're just going to go right from archers now to cavalry. Because it's been done different ways, both ways, honestly, in the past. And I'm just telling you, if they put out a 10th generation Cav field commander, then you'll be able to take XY off the field and you're running 6 legit marches, because the longevity for Belly is great. Still, the longevity for William is still there with all the buffing he does. And then, of course, Huo, Joan, and Nevsky they're not going anywhere anytime soon. So it's not a bad idea to invest in a 3rd set of cavalry stuff. Even if you don't like XY, you can still use them and still get max production out of them. But just know, very soon, you're going to be able to get another wheeled cav commander that's going to be specific for field, and I am praying to God that it's an AoE commander. I think it will be, but we're just all kind of sitting and praying. And there's a lot of speculation they might go with smite or combo damage on the cavalry, which makes it a whole nother issue. But we'll just see kind of how that plays out. More importantly, when you do these cavalry, and I talk about this all the time, where I say, hey, I want to run cavalry. Let me go ahead and just move my gear around here. I want to know what the benefits of the cavalry are. You got to remember, it's not just a situation to where you got more march speed. It's march speed getting to the target. And let me show you what I mean by that. Okay, now these commanders are going to kill this barbarian pretty fast. Okay, but let me put them all in a little area over here, kind of together. Because when I click on the barbarian, you're going to see the cav marches hit it first, and this is what this means. When the cav marches hit any target, okay, let's say this is the line of the murder ball. You got all your guys over here, all their guys are over here, and you're going to go hit something. The first two marches that are going to hit, you can see them already getting out here, is Nevsky and Huo, right? So here's what happens. Boom, they hit first, both of them, and then everybody else wraps around, okay? And that's kind of a weird way to show you, but these are 5 marches. Nevsky's going to be here. Huo is going to, where is Huo? He wraps around up here, okay? But the first commander that gets there is always going to be a cav commander, and they're going to just hit straight away. They're not going to wrap around. And the issue sometimes is when you have archers that hit last, they're wrapping all, and then we have 6 or 7 marches, they're going to wrap all the way around here. And if their murder ball is right here, yeah, you all know what I'm talking about. That's your Boudica's just hanging out right in the middle of their murder ball. Boom, gets focused, gets melted, done. Dead, instantly. So by having your first march hitting as a cavalry, it's a benefit to cavalry because generally you can keep them protected. They're not gonna get focused. It's gonna be these marches wrapping that get focused. Honestly, I hope they focus my William Wallace or my Luce. That's fine with me. I'm not saying I want to go kick out a bunch of counterattack damage to them, but they're definitely tankier than archers, and they're definitely kicking out more counterattack with normal damage boosts. So those are just little nuances to the game that you got to understand and what give cavalry the benefit that they have. Okay, and so you take all that into account and accumulate everything, and I don't know why people just don't run 3 cavalries, because the speed and the punching power you have with them is just so good. Really good field players generally run at least 2, a lot of the times 3 cavalries, and they know how to manage them. They know how to get out of trouble. They know the benefit of them, and that's just what the game is kind of all about. You got to take the strengths and weaknesses. Cavalry, listen, they're not super tanky. Don't get it twisted. But when you run away from a fight, they're getting out of trouble. Okay, I don't see Huo's being chased down. Okay, I don't see Nevsky's being chased down. Doesn't happen very often. Okay, even XY, I don't see him being chased down that much. I see him getting melted if he gets stuck in a murder ball, but I don't see him being chased down. So the cavalry gets out of trouble, getting to and from fights. You know, that's where, honestly, guys, that's where like 15 to 20% of the sev wounds you take in a KVK come from, is marching throughout enemy cities, and your archers or your slow infantry or something gets caught and you can't go anywhere. It used to happen with my Trajan all the time. Part of the reason why I took Trajan off the field a long time ago was because he was so slow. No matter how much march speed I gave him, he got focused when all my marches had already left. He would run by a city and boom, people would pop out and kill him. And there was nothing I could do. Like, literally nothing I could do. My other marches were so far ahead they couldn't get back in time. And the same thing happens with Boudica, and the same thing happens with archers all the time. And that's why cavalry, like, you literally take out and mitigate any damage they take. And I'll say unforced damage. You know, you're not forcing an issue. These are just running by cities, getting to a fight or getting home from a fight. They take like next to no damage because they can get out of trouble. And that's why I think that they're very, very valuable. And with as much stock as I put into AoE, even though that they're only single target, I still find them so valuable. I mean, it's insane what they're able to do. I love the defense debuffs that they do. I love a lot of the different things, that mechanics that they have. I love Belly's all damage buff he puts on him. I love Joan enhancing some rage. I love Belly's rage mitigation. I love Huo's quick firing. And it really, really works out well if you want to look to go with cavalry. Plus, the other thing that you have to understand with cavalry, and this is what I'll kind of put up here. If you have 2 marches, or let's say you have 1 march of cavalry, you want to go to 2. Okay? Cavalry makes it very, very easy to create an extra set of gear. And part of the reason why is because when you go into helmet for cavalry, the abyssal visage is going to give you cavalry attack. I don't like that. I take the expedition war helmet. Okay, you get 6% defense. It's a blue blueprint, so it's easy to crit. You can run that defense up to, I think, 8.5%. Awesome, take it. And you say, well, what about the chest? Well, the chest is a little bit different. But if you can get this Dark Lord's Blessing, okay, and you can get prints for this, and it's easy to do because they're in camps and keeps in your home kingdom, you're running up more defense. Okay, and defense is great for cavalry. Okay, it's a little bit different than infantry and archers, because infantry, you want health, and mainly because you get so much defense from your gear and so much defense from the commanders, that health really helps infantry. Okay, when it comes to cavalry, there's already so much health in a lot of the gear that they have that defense is okay. Defense is like almost as good as health for cavalry, and you got a lot of commanders that provide health. You saw Nevsky, he's got 20% health, 30% proc health. So that's 50 total. So there's all kinds of ways to do that. The Dark Lord's Blessing is an easy upgrade. You can get that defense up over 10% if you crit it. And when you're able to do some of the things with the hands, the Isset Suffering, I love this. This is 6% total. Okay, to give you an idea, that's 8% on the legendary. So this gives you 6% total. And you can get this blueprint in a lot of places. You can run attack and health up with a crit. That's easy. And here's the other part of the cavalry that I love. The gladiators, 8% health. Okay, easy to get. You can go run that to 10% health. So it's very, very simple. The boots get a little squirrely because you got health for archers, you got defense for infantry, but there's not an epic boots for cavalry except for this Cloud Racers, which is attack. I don't want attack for my cavalry. So I would literally run Windswept and just get some more march speed, because the attack doesn't do anything for my cavalry, especially at this level of 5.5%. Okay, so from that standpoint, the last thing, Heart of the Saint, this is great. More defense for your cavalry. You can get that critted, but if you don't, you can also run the Blazing Axe. Now, a lot of people will say this Blazing Axe isn't good because of the attack. I agree with that. Here's the other part to cavalry that's really, really sneaky. This little guy here. Okay, that's 9% defensive health. 9% defense and health. That's better than the Blazing Axe. That's a blue one. This also has a two-piece set of 2% attack. So if you want to go real, you want to go real budget on your cavalry, say, hey, I'm doing a second cav set or a third cav set, I want to be real budget on it, you can do this easy. That's over, 11%? Health and defense that you can crit pretty easily. You get a 2% bonus with attack if you make these guys. And you've got attack and health here. Okay, so you can start with the green and work your way up to purple, work your way up to legendary. And then the beauty with the calves is that the legendary gear is amazing. It's absolutely amazing. Okay, you're always going to get attack with your weapon, and that's fine. But you got defense on the helmet. You got health on the chest. You got defense on the set gloves. You got attack on the pants. And then you got health on the boots. And then here's the other side of this, is that you have, in addition with this, you also have, where's my stuff here? In addition to this, you also have the Ash of the Dawn. And the Ash of the Dawn is going to give you health, massive health, 12%. And also to go with that, you have Navarre's Control. Navarre's Control is another one that is absolutely great for cavalry. It gives you 8% health. So you can run the health up so much on cavalry, which is great. And so I've got 2 of them critted. That's how I roll those. And so you also got the set piece bonuses on the legendary stuff that works out really well. Set piece bonuses for cavalry, a lot of people will say, hey, do you do 6? I don't do 6. I never do. I go 3 for the health, 2 piece, that's all troop health, by the way, and then 4 piece is counterattack damage, and 4 piece is good. You don't have to have 4 piece, but it's kind of nice if you actually have some gloves that you want to make for cavalry. So anything and everything, all cavalry. I'm kind of one of the guys that can help you with your account, that can bounce ideas off of. I've run just about everything. I've tried just about everything. You can check out my previous video on how I ran Takeda and used it for smite enhancement. I have tested so much stuff with calves, and don't even get me into the rallying garrisons. We'll have videos for those later, but this is strictly field, and hopefully videos like this give you enough information to where you can actually put some thoughts together and at least enjoy it for the entertainment. So if you like the video, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. It's a lot of fun. I'm having fun doing it. I'll put up videos of just kind of some of the outside the box type thinking, or get in depth on some of these things. I'm not the content creator that's going to sit here and break news or tell you just the stats on stuff when a new commander comes out. I'm actually going to give you real examples and real rock life examples of this is what happens when I use this. This is what we're thinking. Here's what you can do. And hopefully that's enough value for everybody. I know it is fun for me to do. And if you have any questions, hit me up on Discord, hit me up in the game, hit me up in my comments, and I will be there. And everybody knows me. I generally answer everybody. So just let me know.